Hi, this is Popeye from your favorite Trainwreck, and when I'm not busy loving the sound of my own smooth, sexy voice, I'm listening to FFOP radio. Sounds great, doesn't it? My voice, I mean. You're welcome.
Reach the
Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. My name's Dave, and this is a fistful of podcasts from FFOPradio.com. Back for another great week, and I'm excited, guys. So, you're probably expecting a regular show, and this ain't it. You probably read the title, which gave it away immediately. So, let's cut all the crap. I've got a big get, huge get. I also should have asked you how to pronounce your last name so I don't fuck it up. Shit. So I know I'm gonna try.
Thank
if
you.
I get it right. So, guys, this is it. Farside, your favorite train wreck. The intro to this show is your favorite train wreck. I don't know if I try and tell everybody that because it's probably the best thing about the show. So, I want to introduce you to the next man you will fall in love with. We have Popeye Vogelsang on the show, man.
Hi. No, No, you did it perfectly. Vogelsang. It's
Vogelsang.
German. It means bird song.
I kind of figured, but I didn't want to. Here's the thing. I butchered Andy's last name, and he's my co-host for like the first month of the show.
Oh God.
So that was rough.
Well, no, don't sweat it. I actually kind of wish my last name was in fact Birdsong because that rolls off the tongue a little more easy. No, my real name is Michael Vogelsang, which is a perfectly fine name, but then Popeye is just a lot easier to remember. It's just 2 syllables. Done.
Can we please, let's just jump before I start like blowing my wad of information and like getting into your work and stuff. That was the first question I had. So Popeye.
All right. Yeah.
What's the origin story there?
Well, I was oh boy. Do you want the short version, the medium version, or the long version?
Hey man, if you got leg room, let's use it.
Yeah, okay. We'll shoot for medium. So moved around a fair amount when I was a kid. Seemed to change schools every few years. I was really pretty kind of shy. And you know how it is when you're a little kid and you got to start a new school and it sucks. But the ace that I had up my sleeve was that I could do a really good impression of Popeye the Sailor. And so I used to like do that during recess on the playground to kind of break the ice. And so at some point during junior high school, other kids just started calling me the Popeye guy, and then people just started calling me Popeye. And then not too long after that, I got more and more deeply involved with the hardcore punk rock scene, where seemingly everybody had a nickname. And so that I started playing in bands. And even though I didn't really have any say about it, if I like played in a band or played on a record, I was just credited as Popeye. So I was like, okay, well, I guess that's that, but I've never been in the Navy. I love spinach, but I don't have any anchor tattoos or oddly shaped forearms or anything like that. It's just a goofy nickname, and I'm happy with it because I have nothing to live up to. Like if my nickname was like Crusher or Psycho or Mad Dog or something, it's like, do I have to? Dude, I'm tired. It's like Popeye. It's like, here's the guy. You're just gonna eat your spinach, hang out. We have a cat named Olive Oil. It's like, yeah, great, cool. That's about it.
But that's instant brand recognition. Like that's some people, go their entire lives without getting that sort of brand recognition, and it was just handed to you on a silver platter.
Yeah, that's another great thing about it is I didn't give myself the nickname
because that never works.
Yeah, because it's again like hey bro, how's it going? I'm Mike. I'm Psycho. Oh really?
Nah.
Yeah. Sure you are. Your name's probably Bob or something, which is fine. Robert perhaps. But yeah, But yeah, I didn't give myself the nickname, so
nicknames are a dicey subject because
they are for sure.
If you are really trying to lean into something and nobody's biting and you just sort of keep running with it, it becomes like, oh, it's so sad to watch this happen in front of your eyes.
Oh yeah, there's those guys out there who it's like, oh yeah, people call me blah blah blah. And I'm like, do they? Are you sure they do? And then you ask around, like, does anybody ever call? I've never heard. Don't give yourself a nickname, kids. That's the important takeaway from today. Just if it happens, it happens, and
you have to just take the one you get and own it. If you are lucky enough to get it, like if you can take it and own it, even if it's sucky, like at least you got it. Those of us who go without our entire lives,
yeah, because I mean, even if your nickname is Petunia or Shit Pants. You got there's a story there. There's a story. There's history. Yeah. I have a history and a story as to how I got my name. Even if you got the worst nickname, there's gonna be some roots there. In other words,
I think if my nickname were Shit Pants, I'd at least try to drop the shit. I just say, can we just drop it to Pants? Like we know what I did. Can we just drop it to Pants?
Or you can go with SP.
Yeah, big SP.
Yeah. Big BSP, yeah, and then your hardcore rapping career will take off.
Hell yeah!
Check it out with the BSP.
So Popeye, let's go back in the way back. Let's start at the beginning. What got you into music? Like, so you're coming of age. I think everybody has that pull, but it hooks only a few, and I think only a few of those are worth following.
Yeah, I get, my family, we were just a family of music lovers. Like there was always some sort of music playing somewhere in some part of the house. Either someone had their radio on or someone was playing a record on the hi-fi in the family room. And everybody in my family played instruments, mostly piano. Like both of my parents played piano, and I have an older brother and older sister, and so yeah, music was just kind of a thing. And we were one of those families where when we would go on road trips during our vacation, and you would be out in the middle of nowhere, and you couldn't get a radio reception, and then my brother and sister and I in the back seat of the station wagon, we would just start doing sing-alongs, and we would.
That's crazy.
And so like Barbara Ann by the Beach Boys was one of our favorites because we could do the 3-part harmonies and
oh my gosh,
all that kind of stuff. And so it just I guess there wasn't really I mean I can't say there was a turning point where something happened and I said that's what I want to do. It was just like, oh yeah,
just sort of there.
I was like, I guess I could, my older brother taught himself how to play guitar, so I guess I could probably teach myself how to play guitar too, and then you got these weird little things these little melodies that pop into your head, and no idea where those come from, but it's like, okay, well, if I can figure out how to take what's in my brain and put it into my fingers and put together some sort of hackneyed song, then maybe I can write a song, and maybe I can find some other friends who can play a little bit and start a band. And
here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Anyone can learn how to play an instrument and even get like technically proficient at it. Like, here's an example. Yngwie Malmsteen is a technically proficient guitar player, but I have never heard an ounce of soul in anything he's played. So if you're for pure aesthetics and technicality and like perfection as far as technique goes, there are dudes like that, and God bless you.
Right.
If you're that type of person,
sure.
Woohoo.
I wish I was, because I can't read a fucking note, and I'm a sloppy as hell guitar player and singer, but at the same time, there's a place for people like that, and no disrespect, but let's be honest, it's called getting a job at Guitar Center, and that's
right.
And I never wanted to do that, and so, but yeah, but those guys could shred me all day long, and I'm like, but can you write a song? I'm working with a producer I don't care.
That's the difference. Here's what I'm going to say about you and the singer-songwriter type in general. I think they're underrated, first of all. But more importantly, there's like tiers. And when I think of like singer-songwriter, I'm like, from start to finish, like their product is their product. It's not passed from hand to hand, yada, yada, yada. So like obviously one of everybody's favorites, I feel like, is Linda Ronstadt.
Oh, yeah.
Like, wonderful singer-songwriter.
Definitely.
But you're also like super high up there for me.
Oh, come on.
Seriously, here's the thing. I'm going to lay it out for you, and you're going to be like, yeah, I get it now. That's genius. So here you have, like, let's say you have Linda Ronstadt, who's a 10. Like, she's technically proficient and, melodically, lyrically on lockdown. Then you got guys like Bob Dylan, who I feel are overrated. But, powerful lyrics and etc. But It's not pleasant to listen to melodically.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I get where you're going there.
It feels like it's just sloppy poetry over sloppy whatever. My personal opinion.
Yeah.
And then there's you, who's like right up toward the top. So like whatever, you can say Bob Dylan's lyrics, whatever, the significance, yada yada yada. Whatever. Also, his stuff is dated. You can't go back to it and be like, that's whatever, because it's all about like the 70s and it's very topical political stuff. With your brand, and this is the through line through your entire catalog of songs I've found, is introspection.
Yeah.
It's your catalog is you experiencing the world and trying to be a human being to music.
Yeah.
And listening to all of your songs for the past couple of weeks, it's an incredible sort of it's like watching a Marvel Cinematic Universe play out, because we start in the early days. We've got you in Farside. I couldn't get a lot of my my ears into Keep My Soul Awake. I wasn't able to find a lot of that. A lot of your stuff is out of print, and I'm going to try and fix that.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking to people at Revolution Records, but we'll get into that later.
just to correct you, Revelation Records.
Sorry, Revelation.
That's all right. It's a common misnomer. It's all right.
But that's what I want to do. Like, if I say nothing else to you of value or substance tonight, I want to say that your career is like reading the Odyssey. And
wow.
it just you start, because literally, like, Rochambeau, 1992, first track, Worlds. What a fucking start to that album.
Oh, thank you.
And just bam, bam, bam. Like, Scraps, I'm not sure. That what I wasn't able to find a whole bunch about Scraps.
Yeah, those were just a collection of unreleased demos.
Yeah, so
that's a little more lo-fi. Our bass player and guitar player decided that they wanted to start a record label, and that was the only thing that they put out, because they were like, yeah, why not? We got them, let's put them out there. And so yeah, that's why we're a little more experimental and definitely lo-fi.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that because if someone's out there and they're like, oh, there's this thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, there are very few artists that you can chart on a graph that goes exclusively up, because typically what happens is if your big breakout hit, you got a huge album, a great album. Let's say you're the writer of Rochambeau. Typically what'll happen is there'll be if there's a big release, a lot of the time is that artist had all their ideas into that album, and that was their baby, and they'd shopped it around, and now they're out of shit.
Oh yeah, right.
So they're shallow, and then the next albums just suffer. Like, that happens all the time.
The sophomore slump.
Yes, but Farside, just like bam, 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 up and up and up. So by the Monroe Doctrine, so here, this is just an outsider's perspective.
Yeah,
it feels very like a 3-act structure, like in Rochambeau, Rigged, and then the Monroe Doctrine. The self-titled album I love, but since it's so short, I'm cutting it for time in this discussion.
That's fine.
We got Rochambeau, where you guys are new and fresh and everything is weird, and it's the 90s and everything's overexposed and you guys are rocking the shit out of the place. And Rigged, I feel like, you're sort of settling into it. You're getting your groove, like everything is sort of clicking. And by the Monroe Doctrine, it's just like this well-oiled machine. And so you go from like up, up, up. And so by the end, when the outro and the last song on the Monroe Doctrine is Blue Highways, you're paying homage to those who have come before you, and the cycle is complete. It's a perfect trilogy.
Wow. Gosh. Thank you. You've I've never thought about it the way that you just described it, and now
I'm backloading a lot of fan theory.
Yeah, no, but I will say that you were absolutely right on, and now I'm gonna be lying awake in my bed tonight processing all of this information. But the thing is, I can absolutely speak to what you were just saying about how it being a 3-act thing, and fill in with some of the details. So with our first album, Rochambeau, our original guitar player, Rob Hayworth, he was the one that initially put the band together in 1989. And he wrote, you mentioned the song Worlds. That was the only song that I wrote for that album. Every other song on Rochambeau was written by Rob Hayworth.
Can I tell you something?
Go for it.
I knew that without even looking up anything.
Really?
Yes. Because when my whole palette was Your Favorite Trainwreck, I was like, okay, great. But then when I started going through Farside, I was like, wait, there's no Popeye in this song. Like not even like if you're singing it, even there's no. You're like your voice. Your voice is not in those lyrics. Your voice are not in. And I was like, this is so weird because Worlds is such like a great song and like so solid, like from start to finish, and then it's just like,
thank you.
The rest of the album I get, and you put your effort and everything you got into it, but it's not you, and I could tell.
Wow, that's amazing.
I think you guys just became best friends.
Oh, I think we are. Yeah. Hey, cheers, bro.
Hey.
Yeah. No. I can't look back and think that there was any kind of a disconnect necessarily. And I suppose when you're just kind of doing it, you're not really aware of what's going on. You're part of a band and all that kind of stuff. But Rob had written all of these other songs, and we had enough to record an album. So we're like, okay, we're going to go do this. I had one song that I contributed, and but then after Rochambeau, and then we went on our first U.S. tour, Rob left the band.
Okay.
And so then we got our next guitar player, Kevin Murphy, who he was, and you'll recognize him on Rigged in the Monroe Doctrine because he sang lead vocals on a lot of the songs that we did. And so when Rob was in the band, there wasn't as much songwriting collaboration. Mm-hmm. But then when Kevin joined the band, then it became much more collaborative. And Rob and I are still friends, and I don't want to sound like I'm talking shit on him or anything like that. Just the band kind of changed a bit. And with Rochambeau, the other thing is that was our first album, and we just tried to throw every kind of like, well, maybe we could double this up with acoustic guitar and a clean tone guitar on top of the distorted guitar, and and we just because we'd never been in a recording studio,
right? Yeah,
to that magnitude. For the Record Studios in Orange County, California. Mm-hmm. Everything. What little we had done prior to that point were like really like kind of smaller studios, not to besmirch them, but now we're in like kind of a proper, like, whoa, you got a 24 track and that's a big room, and there's all this stuff and it seems really professional. So we were like, let's just anything we can think of, because this might be the only album we ever do. Mm-hmm. And so it was extremely produced, and it was a very slick album.
Yes.
And then Rob left the band, and the other thing is Rob kind of wanted to take the band into a less punky kind of direction.
Okay.
And then he left, and then Kevin Murphy came in, and Kevin Murphy was a reformed metalhead.
Yeah.
Who was also into hardcore and had a much more aggressive style about himself, and we're like, you know what? Let's kind of switch gears a little bit. And so the next batch of songs that came out just happened to be the ones that were on Rigged. So that's why Rigged is a bit less slick, even though we recorded it in the same recording studio with the same people, way less acoustic guitars and reverb, we wanted a more live, kind of raw, kind of stripped down sound to it. And then when we came around to doing the Monroe Doctrine, at that point we knew that this would be most likely, if not entirely likely, this will be the last album we ever record together.
Yeah, I was reading, even like today, reading the articles of you getting interviewed and reading those words in print, even though it happened so long ago. I was like, oh, so bummed. So bummed when it was like, I forget, because I read so many of them, I can't remember who exactly, but they were all pretty much worded the same. It's like, did you know? And you're like, yeah, we were on our way out and there was things we couldn't focus on the band entirely. And I was just like, oh, and it happened so long ago, but it still hit me right here, man.
Oh,
I was like, God damn it.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you saying that, but for us, just like you pointed out, it wasn't like we were having, musical differences or
right.
or hating each other. We're all still friends and we try our best to stay in touch with one another. But a lot happens between being 20 years old and 30 years old.
Totally.
And we're like, yeah, we're not going to go on tour anymore. Is there really, is there like, what are we going to do? Like to the point of where we loved hanging out, and personally going to practice was oftentimes way more fun than playing shows. Cause I just got to hang out with my guys, and
yeah, I get that.
And we could just screw off and not have to worry about anything. But we just kind of finally had, again, not a religious guy, but we kind of came to one of those come to Jesus moments where we were like, should we really even bother doing this more? And so that's why the Monroe Doctrine is, I mean, there's all kinds of weird bullshit on that record too, like Liz
so
Hurley
good,
and Save It for the Children and stuff, because we were like, okay, this is it. Let's just try to, but anything we got, let's just do whatever we can. And Revelation wasn't super stoked about it because they're like, are you guys gonna go on tour to support this? Probably not really, but could you just give us a few more bucks and we'll finish it up? So that's why we tried to put as many minutes of music on that record that would fit on a CD or a vinyl record.
That's what I was going to say. There's a huge track list.
And also in the back of our minds thinking, this is it. Like, this is it. Let's do the best we can and just go for it, man.
But this was like the craft honed to a diamond sheen. This album delivers I Hope You're Unhappy, 7 Day Constant, The Slow Dance, Blue Highways, just to mention a few of my favorites. But that's the thing, like you needed the Rochambeau. That probably shifted, I'm sure moving from Rochambeau to Rigged and being, creatively unleashed a little bit was like, oh yeah, okay, now I get it. And by the time the Monroe Doctrine hits, it's full blown, like this is Popeye's voice. And as a knowing like wink to the audience, like, hey man, we're not leaving without paying our dues. The Blue Highways cover, I keep bringing that up, but I fucking listen, Graham Parker, thanks for writing it, but it's been eclipsed. It's been eclipsed.
Oh,
now that's
really nice of you to say.
I'm going to say this: I may be an uncultured Philistine, but
I don't know what that means. But keep going.
I think that Blue Highway is not lyrically deep, but it is musically perfect, melodically beautiful. And I think that. I'm sure there's a connection that somebody's being made to the lyrics somewhere. But for me, like I sort of get the idea of it, but that song is made on its performance. I've listened to a dozen Graham Parker recordings of it. Sorry, he does not put half the soul I get out of your cut. And then Popeye, and then YouTube's like,
but
hey
wait,
man,
there's more.
Yeah, there's more. YouTube says, hey man, here's a live version of Blue Highways. And that takes it to 11. You Spinal Tap that shit. I did it the wrong way, and I fucked up, and I shouldn't have.
No.
But I found the live version first. I was like, this is fucking amazing. Went to the album version. I'm like, this is good, but the way you belt that shit out on that stage, I'm gonna link it in the show notes, guys.
Was that the one that I did at Crossroads in
for
New
Albatross?
Jersey? This is Albatross. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think, and I'm pretty sure that was the only time I've ever played it live.
Yeah, because you were
told
saying
the guy to tune your face,
oh
bro.
my god.
Oh, tune your face, bro.
Tune your face, bro.
Like,
this is
fuck
fucking
you, it's
punk rock.
That's right.
Holy shit. Full disclosure, I'm a fan. I watched that video dozens of times. Every time Once You Tune Your Face, Bro hits, I laugh, man. It is.
I didn't know what I was doing there in the first place. I just got offered a show, and I'm like,
oh my god.
Wait, you want me to play for how long? What? I got like 35 good minutes in me on a good night. Oh,
listen,
okay.
this is the bonkers part of Popeye. Popeye will downplay his shit, and then when you run into it and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing, how dare you keep this from me? And he's like, I didn't want to get in the way, I didn't want to promote myself.
Man, dude, I'm just a guy in Scranton. I'm more focused about meal planning and
Cats.
and cats and making sure the plants are taken care of. That's what I was doing before we talked. I was like, I got to water the plants.
But that's whatever, Popeye. That's all good. Here's the thing: when you're a cool dude, you get a pass no matter what. Like, I met you.
I'm glad you think I'm cool. Maybe you could mention something to my wife.
Well, it's not an unpopular opinion. What I'm going to say is, like, here's this is a story that I'm going to tell you that made me both insanely angry and insanely happy at the same time. So if you guys, I'm also maybe going to link this in the show notes, but back a while ago there was a Quarantunes concert.
Right.
Popeye was up in the 2 spot, and so of course that's when I tuned in. I saw Little Tim Hone, but only because I completely forgot and I was putting my son to bed. I would have been there for the whole thing.
Oh.
So I show up and Popeye is there, and I'm like, all right, yeah. And I'm like, play some Trainwreck. And I'm blowing up the comments because I think you can see it.
Yeah. I try to ignore it, but I'm like, okay. Yeah.
And so I'm sitting at home and I'm telling Krista, he's listening to all my comments. He's doing everything I want.
He can hear me.
And so I'm, when you sing the Trainwreck cut, my favorite cut of the album, I'm singing along in my living room.
Oh, man.
And then here's where the anger kicks in. You start playing Farside, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? How have I gone this long in our relationship where this guy hasn't said shit about this? So, obviously I went out and got all the albums I could that are still in print.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, he went down a rabbit hole. And then I found a song that I want, like, if we ever renew our vows, I want this song to be played, but it's out of print. What's the song called again? I already forgot.
I'll Wait Today.
I'll Wait Today. Oh my god.
Yeah. No, I was worried because I was like, but it's not something that's going to be challenging for me. No, that was a little tough, but I can send you a karaoke version when the time comes.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, you name it, you got it. Yeah. As best as I can do.
This is going to be a bizarre show for listeners of this program because
it's not already?
Well, the thing is, like, this is going to be far away, like, beyond the pale of, like, getting a guest that's out of our league. When people tune in, they're like, oh, I can't wait to hear Dave, get critical. This is one of the things that I have no critical lens for. I'm not going to bitch about anything Farside. I'm not going to bitch about anything your favorite Trainwreck. I don't care if I sound like a shill. Because if I have to be, I will. God damn it!
All right. Well, just give it 10 minutes, and then I'm sure we'll get angry at each other.
So now Farside, last album, 1999. Your favorite Trainwreck, not until 2012.
Correct.
So what was the genesis of that album? Like, what were you like? What was the deal?
Well, the we had two guys in the band named Jeff. Mm-hmm. So I need to clarify. One was named Jeff Holmes. He was our bass player, and the other was named Jeff Caudell.
Yeah. Jeff
Caudell was the other singer, songwriter, co-lead singer for Your Favorite Trainwreck. So we would switch off. Jeff has been one of my very, very, very best friends for, I think we're coming up on about 30 years now. He was the lead singer and chief songwriter, guitar player for a band called Game Face, which was another Orange County like post-hardcore pop punk band. Anyway, we had collaborated here and there in certain ways, like, oh, hey, you want to come and sing backups on this song that we're going to be recording, or I'm doing a solo project. Maybe would you be interested in playing guitar, whatever. And over the years, we had talked about, like, God, wouldn't it be great if we were in a band together, but we couldn't figure out how to do it because we did the same thing. We were both lead singer,
right,
songwriter, guitar players, and
that's the rub. And
yeah, and what do you do with that?
Your voices, though, lyrically, and like, you can tell that there's a long-standing relationship because your voices in song are very similar. I think he's a little more. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was probably on the little like political side of things.
Yeah, at times he was, for sure.
Because on Your Favorite Trainwreck, obviously 2012, there's a song that references the current president of the time, which is Bush.
Oh yeah,
and which I think is hilarious. Like, I think Bush is going to benefit so much from nostalgia goggles. Like, do you guys remember when we had Bush 2, The Return of the Killer Bush, and everything was fine? Oh my god.
Oh my god. Yeah, my favorite. We love that song. My favorite part, or I shouldn't say my favorite part, but one of my favorite things about that song is the title, "The Brilliance."
Yeah.
Because that's really just an inside joke with Jeff and I. It's like, oh, check out the brilliance of the. Oh, yeah,
it's a good reference.
By the way, there is a super high budget music video for that song.
Yeah, seen it.
Have you? Oh, you have? Okay, yeah.
Of course.
We lucked out. Jeff's neighbor, who lived across the street from him at the time, he produced and directed commercials, and he was like, "Hey, I really like this song. I want to make a video out of it." So he tacked us on to the end of a commercial shoot that he was doing, a car commercial out in the Inland Empire. Or the high desert, and he was like, yeah, we were just, we're kind of out here anyway. You guys want to come over? And it was the craziest thing because the crew was like 75 people, and we walk in, and we're like, okay, don't touch anything, don't talk to anybody.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because these people are professionals, and we're just a group of jackasses, and we don't know, we're not even sure what we're doing here right now. Yeah, otherwise. I know I got off track there, but yeah, check it out. The Brilliance by Your Favorite Trainwreck.
Yeah, so good.
But yeah, with Your Favorite Trainwreck, we just finally kind of came to a point where we were like, okay, dude, I have a song that's half finished. I'm going to give it to you and see what you can do with it. And so it just became this kind of back and forth kind of demoing thing. And so it was a new tact for both of us to just try to let's see what we can do, and also kind of tapping into a lot of the influences that we had like pre-punk stuff. Like, Jeff's dad was a big country music fan, so
it does feel more like
there's a little bit of a twang, a little bit of a jangle. Yeah,
it's more rock, less punk. Just like 2% country, just enough to let you know it's there.
Yeah, and then for me, I was like, God, I just more than anything, I would love to be in an Elvis Costello cover band. So here's my chance, kind of.
Yeah.
And so just like spewing venom with stuff, and
so
at that
good.
point, we were all hovering around middle age, and so we were like, you know what, we literally have nothing to lose. Like, no one's gonna give a fuck, and let's just do it and get together and just get that feeling of, again, rehearsal is oftentimes way more fun than trying to set up a show or play a show. We knew we weren't going to go on tour. We knew we weren't going to make any money. We were lucky to be able to record that record in the first place.
You know what's crazy?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing about your favorite Trainwreck. I have to separate because it's its own chunk, its own, epoch in your history. But to the layman, Farside was T1. Like, your favorite Trainwreck is T2. It's Terminator 2. You come back, you blow the doors off of this shit. And not only that, you sort of give a nod to everything you've come through and everything you've experienced. There's definitely a theme in the songs of like, we're starting to feel our age, but we still are full of this energy and we still have opinions and whatnot. So you can see it reaching back to the roots, but trying to keep contemporary. So it's T2, man.
I am so grateful that you enjoyed it and that it connected with you. And yeah, you're right, because the things that you sing about when you're 20 years old maybe a little different than the things that you sing about when you're 40 years old. And I mean, I didn't want to get specific about like, God, these mortgage rates are killing me, but at the same time, it's like God, I'm still, and you mentioned that earlier when you were bringing up the Farside discography. And also with your favorite Trainwreck, I wish so badly that I could competently write songs of a political nature and that are like world-changing stuff. And I tried it, and I realized that I'm not good at it.
Right, you have to.
Yeah, there's a way to put that stuff poetically, and I just didn't have that gift. I mean, you can. There's I know you're not a punk guy, but there's a song by a band from Reno, Nevada called 7 Seconds, who are a legendary hardcore band. Okay. And they have a song called Racism Sucks. And what else do you need to say about that? That's the chorus. Racism sucks. Racism sucks. And it's like, yeah, I can't do that. I'm not good at that. So that's when I just started. Well, I guess I'll just, here's what today was like, and I'm just going to jot that down. And amazingly, people connected with it. So
because your brand is humanity, your brand is being a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not like there is a specific time and a place for a protest, a political whatever, but those things will come and go. Being a human will be here forever. So writing songs about being a human, like in Worlds, you're basically psyching this third person up, like, hey, don't listen to anybody else. You got this. Keep it, rolling. That's the thing, is like you're separating the outside from the inside and keeping those, it's basically your first song is like, hey man, set some fucking boundaries for yourself. It's healthy.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
So that's the thing. You can see it in Rochambeau. You're building yourself up as a person, and by your favorite Trainwreck, you're looking back with like, Broken Pieces or Left Alone or all of these other songs that are like sort of like, yeah, I did these things. They happened. Here's what I felt when I was going through it, and this is what it's like to be a goddamn human being.
Yeah. I guess so. Thank you for making me so much feel so much better about my songwriting choices.
But here's the thing,
because you don't know. It's just like, well, here it is. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you won't. Yeah.
There are very few people who want to express themselves in a way that also fits them like a glove. So like singer-songwriter, I think, was perfect for you. If this were, the 1700s and we all lived in castles and we had lutes and shit, I firmly believe you would be doing the exact same goddamn thing. You would be recounting the human experience on your goddamn lute and also still saving medieval cats.
Yep.
Well, of course, they had cats back then.
But there you would be. You would be, because that's cut through all the shit. You're a storyteller.
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing at the imagery of me wandering around a castle in the 70s.
A nice long pheasant feather in the cap.
Naturally. I mean, why wouldn't I? And then I'll just have a mutton chop or a turkey leg or something.
Yeah, you'll have the classic codpiece and tights running around. Oh man.
Tis a row down diddle-I day.
Yeah, take Popeye, any alternate universe style, through the gates of the Silver Key style, slice this multiverse wherever you want it when you look at Popeye, he's doing the same goddamn thing. I guarantee it. Single cell. You'll have a single cell Popeye with a tiny guitar.
All right. If you say so.
Listen, this is a scientific fact. I've checked it. I've checked it on the best supercomputers.
Okay. Well, go good. I'm glad you have the data to back that up. I just think of myself as meal planning Popeye. Vegan meal planning Popeye. That's it.
I mean, sure, but you can't stop me from thinking that you're a superhero some of the time.
Not at all. And I greatly appreciate it. I don't know what else to say, but thank you very much. And I'm glad it reached you and connected with you at some point, especially since Farside broke up in, I think, 2001, and your favorite Trainwreck was a kind of a short-lived band from a while back. And so, like we've discussed, the meaningful thing for me is that I still get to make new friends because of something that happened many, many years ago. While I'm in the middle of doing meal planning, It's like, oh, hey, bro. Yeah, you want to be friends? Sure.
Yeah, I couldn't, like, our story is so unremarkable, I almost forgot it.
Every story's great.
So yeah, here it is. So back in the old days when I would get music for the show breaks so that Andy could run and take a piss because he couldn't go an hour and a half holding it for some reason. I had to go and find music, and I would reach out to all these independent artists and be like, hey, I know you're trying to get exposure. I would love to play your songs. I love this shit. 9 times out of 10, yeah, sure, knock yourself out. We don't care. Basically, like, do whatever you want. We don't give a shit. We're not making money out of it either way. That 10th person was Popeye. So Popeye's like, yeah.
Just made the cut.
The 10th person Popeye says, oh yeah, here's the album, and check it out. I'm also a cool dude, and I'm going to do some VO for your show. I still have those files. I'm going to put those in this episode somewhere.
Oh.
Funny shit. But right, I don't want to spend the night being like, oh, you're such a great guy, because I also have some interesting questions about your history.
Okay.
Number one being, so, we had talked before briefly that you were into journalism. So we could have had a very divergent path. Your storytelling could have been prose instead of poetry. What was it that steered you away from the journalism? Because obviously, you ended up being a musician.
Well,
more or less.
Yeah. I mean, well,
to you, I think you're the greatest.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. When's dessert coming? So, well, I knew I wanted to get an education, and I eventually settled on journalism and worked for a few different publications because I thought it would be a good convergence of creativity, but also some hard skills. Mm-hmm. But I worked in that industry for about 10 years and worked for a few different publications, but it really just didn't feel any different from any other menial job that I had. Like, you just have to show up and then you got to do what somebody else tells you. And
when on the timeline is that happening? Like, is that Farside era? And
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we were all in college during Farside. And yeah, so like I guess like the late 90s is when I got my first actual job for a publishing company.
Okay.
And I remember, here's a bit of trivia if you're interested. So the first song on the Farside album, The Monroe Doctrine, which is called Better Than Crying, I wrote that when I was sitting in the parking lot waiting to go into a job interview for the publishing company that publishes Cat Fancy and Dog Fancy magazine.
Oh my gosh.
Because at that point I'm like, okay, I'm about to turn 30 and here I am in my broken down car, and I showed up 15 minutes early, and I don't know what to do with myself because you don't want to be late to a job interview.
Right, yeah.
And so I'm just kind of sitting there, and I'm just thinking about like, okay, this might be that turning point where you are like, you really have to accept adulting and adulthood. And so I just pulled out a notepad, because that's what good journalists always have, a notepad, and I just started scribbling down some lines, and I went in and did my interview and got the job. And then 3 months later, they eliminated my entire department. So that was kind of short lived, but I get to say that, hey man, I worked for
you had some time
company
for Cat Fancy.
And I had access to the subscriptions. So a good buddy of mine in New Jersey named Chris Ross, who's an animal lover. I hooked him up with a 100-year subscription to Dog Fancy magazine.
Oh my gosh!
That was my favorite perk of the job, and to this day,
he's getting it.
I'm like, do you still? He's like, oh yeah, I've moved like 3 times since then. They know where I am every month.
Here it is. Incredible.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Popeye, take this in the spirit in which it is intended. But if you were to hand me a script that was just your life, I would be like, too many cliches. Come on. Too many cliches. The sing along in the car. You're doing the Von Trapp family bullshit in the station wagon. I'll take that. I'll take it.
But the thing is, in my opinion, every human on the planet has those experiences too. I know. Hey, come on. When we were doing our sound check last week, and I don't want to get specific, but we were talking about what you do for a living.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about that. Like it's fascinating to me because it's like I can't do that, and I find that very impressive. And you're also affecting people's lives in a very different way. So I suppose to me it's all relative, and you're just doing your thing, and otherwise, and I've never made a living playing music. I just did this thing, and then I did this other thing. And you asked about the gap between Farside and your favorite Trainwreck, and it's because, well, yeah, I mean, I have other things that interest me and other things that I want to do, and and then I got into voiceovers, and then that became something that I was really interested in as well.
Listen. No backpedaling any of this like humility and being like what you do is important too. That's bullshit. Let me just go through. Like here, don't you dare disagree with this because we go from. Let me just lay it out. We got the Von Trapp family sing along with the whole family, which is okay. Bam, we got that. Then you're like, hey, I'm gonna go be in an amazing punk band in the 90s. Great. And then you're like, I'm going to be a journalist that works for Cat and Dog Fancy magazine. And P.S. hook my friend up with a century of this publication.
Yep. Yeah.
And then it's your favorite Trainwreck and live shows. And you're like, oh yeah, you're what you're doing is important too. Here's Skipper. No, bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. Somebody hands me a script that's your life. And I'm like, nope, you got to cut some of this shit out. It's unbelievable.
No. I mean, granted, it's not lost on me that I've had the wonderful fortune of doing some incredible things.
Yeah.
However, to me, I'm just a guy in Scranton who's more concerned about meal planning, vegan food for my wife, and that's it.
That's what pushes you over the top.
So you can think what you want, but let me think what I want.
Listen, I'm not going to take away your clout of vegan meal planning. If, that is the feather in your cap, I cannot steal it. But from the outside looking in, it's a little bit different. You may see, like, from the inside looking out, you may be like, oh, fanny pack, thick glasses, meal planner, got to go to work and go home. Everybody else, literally everybody else. And don't be like, no, this is not, because it is. Watch the stream you were on, man.
Yeah.
If you're a good guy, people don't like blow up your shit being like, this guy's good. They're not like, nobody, not a single person was like, this guy plans a good vegan meal. Not a single person, if you'll believe that.
Shit, well, I got to work on that then. Because I'm not even vegan. I'm just trying to be a team player, man.
Team player, yeah. That's...
Which just helps David's case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got the journalism thing. You had your dalliance in publication. I think the fact, like, Cat Fancy, like that's a fucking movie premise. God damn it! And you're like, no, it's no big deal.
But you know what? It's not that I was really that involved. Like I mentioned, I was only there for a few months. But I just love saying it.
Still, yes.
Dog Fancy and
yes,
Fancy.
And then this is gonna, and then we haven't even cracked into the VO.
Well, should we? Would this be a good time to take a break?
Yeah. Do you need to?
I need another drink, and I need to go to the bathroom. But
right.
Yeah, is there do you want to do an outro or something? Well, hey, God bless America. My computer is still recording everything.
Well, this is all like if you want, you can just run and we'll just leave stuff going. If you are confident, because I'm gonna get another drink too.
Okay, good. At this point, we're at like, we're over 51 minutes and no issues.
All right. So
we'll do a little
drinks
thing.
with that.
Get your little low carb.
I got to remember, we're talking about VO.
Blueberry's my favorite. When I go out to get those for my wife, she's like, "Oh, you can have the blueberry," and that's my favorite fruit. So,
me too.
I like
we're
the
all
raspberries
BFFs now.
Personally,
yeah.
But if you're low carb, there's no better way to get plastered.
True.
Yeah. I disagree, but
well, I mean, the pineapple just got so many carbs, all that sugar, Popeye.
Diet tonic water.
Pineapple sugar juice.
The pineapple juice that was a splurge. I bought it last night, and it was the first time in like three weeks. It's usually just diet tonic water and a fresh.
What you're doing is working. Don't let me be like, hey, you know what you can do better.
Yeah, I'm sick of your judgment, Dave.
You don't need excuses from me.
You know what? Fuck you. We're fine.
Sick of your shit.
I'm gonna flip this shit.
What an asshole. All right.
This is all staying in.
All right. Back in a few.
We'll do the thing. All right. Thanks, man.
Fistful of Podcasts Radio.